All right. Here we are. What day? The 23rd of December. Oh my goodness. And the year 2024 in the Gregorian calendar. Solstice just passed. And this is a chance for you and I, Malaury, to talk about our Schumacher journey, your Schumacher journey. And so I know you're aware of it, but yeah, we were just starting this new thing called the Schumie's Spotlight for the Schumacher Global Network's New Moon Missives newsletter, and also just as like a potential video share and or audio share. Some people call these podcasts. So we might share the recording of it in an audio version. But I just wanted to say hello and thank you and yay, because I'm talking to you from Los Angeles, but you are in Ireland at what is known as Corra Woods, which is a home and new headquarters of the Institute of Relational Being, which is a legacy project of Schumacher College. And you and I have been playing together for some time, co-creating this, which is so far out because, yeah, we were just there together. And I wanted to have this conversation with you while we were both in Ireland, but alas, family and time and all the things did not allow for it. So, anyways, I will stop talking and just say thank you for taking a few minutes before Christmas and all the things to have this chat. And like I said before we started, just it's just a chance to say hello, reflect on your Schumacher College journey, and maybe a update from your perspective of what you're excited about now and all of that. So, first of all, thank you again. And wow, where to begin? You and I did the Engaged Ecology program together in 21-22, which feels like a lifetime ago, but also like yesterday. Um, yeah, what are you thinking about it? What is it like for you with Schumacher and like your experience of finding the college and yeah, like it's surreal to me, quite frankly, but yeah, what I now I'm just rambling, which is not going to be good for the storytelling component, but like it's always fun to hear how you found your way to Schumacher in a brief, kind of summary of how you somehow found your way into Schumacher, if you would be so kind to maybe start there.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Every opportunity I have to share the space with you is a pleasure and honor. So thank you.
Mm.
And I'm going to try to be brief, although it's not really such a brief story. But just to give it a bit of context, I was studying in France. My undergrad was a Bachelor of Science of Environmental Geography, and it was a pretty traditional Western educational system, which drained my full energy at the time. Although I am really grateful for all of the things that I've learned, obviously. But it was a very challenging time because I really suffered from these long hours of being lectured, and there was not much interactions and not much hands-on experience, or you know how it is. And so I was pretty much done and convinced that I would never go back to school after this because of how tired I felt when this was over. So I graduated and I decided to go to Ireland and learn permaculture and traveled for almost a year, and I was just volunteering. That word is hard to pronounce, but I was working on organic farms, and at that time I was sure that this was going to be my forever, and I would not go back to school, and I would not sat down in such, like, for hours and hours and being lectured by some random, not so random, some very knowledgeable people, but And anyway, and so that's what I was doing. But back when I was in college, for my bachelor, I read that book from Rob Hopkins. And I don't know the name because I read it in French, so I wouldn't be able to say which one it is in English. But I remember very vividly at some point in the book, he talks about the Schumacher College, and I was very curious. And so I started looking, taught and, becoming more and more interested in what this was about and looked at the website. And I thought, oh my gosh, I wish I had such a place like in where I come from and such like, kind of that alternative education and an opportunity to be in such a space because the traditional system wasn't working for me. And but then I gave up on it because I knew it wasn't available nearby and that I didn't have the level of English that I needed to get into the Schumacher College. So I gave up. I went to Ireland, did all the things, and COVID hit, came back to France and quarantine. And it was, as I imagine, for a lot of people, a very difficult time. And I had to go back to work, and I was just working a bunch of random different jobs in restaurants, in a hospital. I was cleaning people's houses, any way that I could just support myself financially. And I had this realization that I needed to go back to school. And and because I lived in Ireland for a year at that time, I was like, okay, now I have the level of English, so I'm going to apply. And I got in. And it basically really was a shift in my entire life that I did not expect. And now that I reflect on it, I it's like I knew I would go there from the moment I read Rob Hopkins' book, but I wasn't completely aware of it. It was on a subconscious level because then I went to Ireland, I learned English, and then I was able to get in. And that's where I met you. And yeah, changed my entire life.
That's amazing, especially considering you had just learned English. So you had to do this master's degree with English as a fresh language for reading and writing and speaking. And of course, there was delays due to visas and all the things. So you started on Zoom like we are now, which was really wild as well. But then you got there, and it was a very amazing journey. Intense. I still can hardly believe how like much happened. I think how many years later, I'm still processing, unpacking, digesting all the things that we learned. And and yeah, we met there, and it was amazing. And then a couple of years have flown by in some ways, and then you went back to France, I understand, but then you were in Thailand, and that's where we reconnected um, on a Engaged Ecology follow-up call, which was cool. And you were like looking for something, and I was in the midst of starting something and getting it more going, and that's when you joined the Institute of Relational Being, which is so rad that you're a part of this, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, what's how's that for you? What's that been like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm very grateful to be a part of this project and especially after like Schumacher was amazing and I was finally in, like a place that I was thriving. I felt supported. My needs were supported in so many ways, although it wasn't perfect, obviously, but it was completely different from everything that I had ever known. And, it was amazing. And I finally could blossom and explore so many things that I wanted to explore and perhaps even like some more experimental topics and it was just really freeing. So after that it was really difficult for me to look for a job because that's where my expectations were, to have such freedom and to have such like a radical space to really be my most authentic space, even in a professional realm. And it was obviously a bit difficult to find that in, mainstream kind of jobs. And so I looked for jobs for literally nonstop for 1 year. And that's so funny because it's exactly when I completely surrendered to being lost and in that liminal space of not finding anything, that this call happened. And then you were like, hey, would you like to be a part of this? And I was just mind blown by this opportunity, because so far it's been such a wonderful journey, and it feels really radical to me because I get to have the amazing opportunity to really imagine and dream into what I want to be without feeling rushed or pressured to have all of the answers of what I want to be in a professional realm. And it's hard for me to identify with labels because I don't really know where I'm at yet, and it's an ongoing exploration. But as part of the Institute of Relational Being, I really get to play and be creative and be imaginative and have the best work colleagues. So that's that's a gift, truly. And I guess, like, it's hard to ever answer when people ask me, like, what are you doing? Because I feel like I'm really exploring, and you really give me that space to have the freedom to do that. And so we're trying to, yeah, offer spaces and platforms and reminders that we're part of nature, and there are like so many different ways in which we can be a part of nature and without feeling separated, or without feeling like we have to be a certain way, or that we have to be exceptional, like the center of the universe, but we can actually communicate with the rest of the world, and have so many more different kind of friends. And just, I know that it's almost like, when I reflect on the kind of things that I want to offer, I don't have all the answers yet, but I know that it feels revolutionary for me to be in such a workspace where I have time to rest. I have time to take care of my needs. I have the opportunity to fail without being blamed or judged. I have friends in, like, the environment that I work in, and I get to collaborate with people organically, and that's exactly what I wish to offer. And so if RIB is the prototype, and we can make this more and more available, and we can make those spaces accessible and decentralized, that would be my dream.
Mm.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
I mean, it's really heartwarming to hear, and it makes me think of so many things, especially when you're talking about looking for a job for a year. I too, at least 1 year, and I did get some work after I think a whole year of not succeeding. And I think that is the challenge so many people are facing across the whole entire world, Western civilization, maybe more. But going to college, getting degrees, still not finding a job, or finding one that you have to kind of compromise your integrity or ethics or everything. And what we're doing is imperfect, and we're still trying to figure out how to make it sustain us financially, but and also, yeah, that's not everything. It's like we have a care and mutual respect and a welcoming space that we're co-creating, and I'm just really excited and honored that you're doing that with me, and that we're opening ourselves up to opportunities and kind of the true emergence of, like, we have ideas of what it can look like, but also we're just totally embracing, we're making up as we go, but with vision and purpose. And like we have the collective imagination practice community, work, which is really exciting, mapping that community and helping that organization of groups see itself in a better way, which I think we can implement into the Schumacher Global Network, as well, across all the different organizations and people and practices. And that's really exciting. And then, of course, where you are right now, Corra Woods in County Clare, Ireland, is now a place we can host retreats and like workshops and outdoor classes and get the local community involved, but also have it be part of Schumacher Wild, which Jay Tompton and the team are excited to have like some small things happening there, which is so rad. And Rachel Sweeney, who has a lot of Irish connections, and is Irish. So it's so fun because we're still at the earliest days of that. So maybe this is just a little plug for us for the future because we do want to welcome people onto the land for all sorts of projects. And in that respect, what is there anything you like want to manifest or put out there that would be awesome to host there or whatever? Just like yeah, what would be a super rad thing to happen in the next 6 months or year uh, at Corra Woods?
The residencies has been like something that's been really on my mind for a long time because I and we talk a lot about offering containers of care and spaces where um, people have the opportunity to really engage in those relational practices, and it's not just something that we talk about on social media or on Substack or wherever on the internet online realm, but really manifest that into reality, well, or different aspect of reality anyway, and just feel the warmth of being in person with people and more than human beings and really have just that space to make that happen. And I don't really know how it looks like yet, but I'm just really excited about just the opportunity to gather and and test it and test what it would look like to have a hub where people can come and experience the Institute of Relational Being or experience what it means for them to be a relational being while being cared for and held, because it does imply also having certain conversations that might be complicated, and it does also involve like unpacking certain biases. And so it's just always better to know that there is that container of care that is available. And so I I guess I'm saying residencies, but of course, like also super excited about Schumacher in the wild, having courses, workshops and so on. The reason why I mention residencies perhaps first is because it's sort of like it's not something that we teach, or there's not that sort of like, yeah, that aspect of like there's someone that is facilitating, but more like a space that we all co-create together and the energy just moves along the way and whatever needs to emerge will emerge. And residencies feels like, yeah, it's just we're basically just offering that container, as I said, but then we can all play and create whatever needs to be created or wants to be created, but there's no proper agenda, like, or just maybe there's like more like rituals more than a fixed agenda, and then the rest is flowing. So I really like that idea of, yeah, just having people
Hmm.
around.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Me too. And we got a taste of that, I feel like, when we were all there last month and we were calling it the Doobie Design kind of meetup, and it was a follow on from the Gathering of Tribes in Portugal where we were all together in the Think Doobie Nature Camp, which turned into the Doobie Nature Camp and the Doobies. But what you were just saying made me think of that and how like beautiful and organic that was because we kind of had a couple of ideas of what we wanted to create or explore or work on together. Some of it happened, but I don't think any of it actually went exactly how we imagined it. And because we weren't attached or holding on to the expectation part of it, for me, that felt so good. Like some days some like magic happened and we were like super creative and productive, constructive. But like then there was just time for meals and laughing and being silly and that too is so valuable to just have a space to like be ourselves. And I think that was something Schumacher did allow for in some capacity. And ideally, I think what we can help as it reinvents itself and we carry forward its legacy in our own ways we can really be like you said it. Yeah, we have a space now there that has growing capacity for vegetables and the woods for outdoor classroom space and next door is a woodworking shop and there's all sorts of beautiful herbalists and people around that we can connect with as well. So it's really going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how we do it. You know, like we'll definitely like the residencies feel great, and then maybe we do have kind of open conference style workshop weekends or week things, but with like just like kind of sort of ideas of what we're actually going to do together, but not have it be so rigid and structured. They're still important to have boundaries or guiding directives, but it's kind of cool to just be together and see what comes up naturally too.
Yeah, agreed. And that sounds so simple in a way because, sometimes, or I don't know if you feel that, but I feel that sometimes that, as in that kind of that niche of the regenerative movement and that kind of space where we all talk about shifting paradigms, and sometimes it does feel a bit like, okay, but how do we do this? And sometimes it's also like coming back to the idea that it's as simple as just hanging out
Mm,
and slowing down and actually like becoming friends with each other, and just knowing that this simple act in itself is already like counter modern capitalistic western blah blah blah. It feels so good because it feels really simple to offer that.
mm. It is, and yet it's so hard sometimes to actually like say, no, no, we're just gonna like, because people, I sense, maybe I haven't heard too much of it, but I can imagine there's some judgments of like, this is just like you're not doing anything or whatever. But like that's not actually the case. And I don't really want to go too far into that anymore because what you just said sums it up and I resonate with like the undoing of we need to whatever get these stats, get these figures, get these quantitative data points to prove we were productive or whatever is total BS. Not entirely, there's value to it, but you know, like you're saying that, like like we talk about this, like the qualitative side of things needs to be more embraced. That the quality of our respect and relationships and trust and allowing the other multi-species beings into the like field in awareness of both the cycles of the moon and the seasons and the land and the water, and like that is so important, and it hasn't taken center or even shared space in so much of what we're doing. And Schumacher again did do a lot of that to ground us into presence and place in that more relational context, and I think that's what IRB is really doing as well. And that just makes me want to ask one more specific question, um, because what you're talking about is awesome, but also what we haven't spoken to is the ritual and ceremony of being with space, which you and I both do in you know, I'm gonna say witchy ways in this way because we like we give back to the world in spells and rituals and ceremonies, and I think that is so also important that we embrace the land on a daily basis in ways that allow for that space to be nourishing and reciprocal in its care because we're giving that gratitude and love to it. And I don't know, there's not really an exact question, but maybe just how do you feel about that, or is there anything that you've been doing lately that you really are enjoying or finding interesting about your relationship with that particular land that you're a part of right now?
Hmm. Well, it's winter here, and something that lately I have been doing that I feel have like literally changed my brain chemistry is feeding birds. And I don't even like, I'm saying feeding, but I feel like it's more like I'm giving offerings to birds because it's winter, and just I'm aware that it can be tough for them. And there are lots of birds here in Corra Woods. And so I was researching on this, and then at some point I learned that if someone starts doing this, if you start like feeding birds during the winter, you cannot stop. Like you cannot just do it here and there and not be consistent with it, because potentially you'll just bring more like scarcity, or it's just like it's going to do more damage because they're going to be attached to that source of of food, and then all of a sudden it's not here anymore, and maybe they just get all confused with this. So you have to really be consistent if you do try to help them throughout the winter. So that became a ritual. Every morning I wake up and I have this huge bucket of seeds, and I wake up and I pour some of the seeds, and sorry, and I have this moment of like being really able to be present with them. And so I pour some seeds, and then I just go into my little corner and I wait, and they all come, and I just give myself some like couple of minutes to notice them, and name colors and name patterns on, like how they look like, without trying to capture them with a name particularly. Like, I'm not necessarily interested in like knowing what exact bird it is. If I don't know, it's okay, but I just really pay attention. And so now I feel like some of them I can recognize, and I know they come every day, and so I'm building this relationship with them, and it just has been wonderful and something that I've never done before. So that's how I have been engaging with the land lately, especially as it is winter. So a lot of animals, a lot of non-human beings hibernate, and I don't see them so often anymore, but birds are still here, and we hang out every day, every morning we hang out and we have fun.
That's so sweet. Ah,
What
I
have
love.
you been doing? I'm wondering. I'm curious.
What's that?
What have you been doing in your own land in LA? Just to
Ah,
confirm.
yeah. Well, I haven't done that bird feeding thing though. The birds are migrating south, so there are new bird beings visiting here that you don't see in the spring or summer, and even in the fall, because it is colder in the northern climates, and they're heading down south, and so I do like to acknowledge them. I I haven't been doing more than the kind of morning rituals that I typically do with water, which you know of, but my like four blessing water ritual each morning, um, saying good morning and thank you and bless you and I love you to the water. I just think that it's been a part of my daily rituals for a long while now, and I love that. And then the dancing the world awake kind of thing where I love doing it at Corra Woods because the woods are just so alive and beautiful. But now I'm in the canyon and part of this canyon, so it's a different uh entirely different ecology that I'm with. And but a lot of my energy in the form of like ritual is more in the cosmic realm. I've been really looking to the celestial realm and to the planets that are out, Jupiter and Mars and Venus have been in the sky lately, and slightly later in the night, Orion moves up into the sky, and Canis Major, where Sirius is, comes in, and I just love Sirius, and Sirius B, and there might even be a third star, I believe, in the it's like a three-star thing in the sky thing. I mean, it's like these living, pulsing life forms out in the cosmos that I've been kind of sitting with and just acknowledging every day or every night. And thankfully, we've had clear skies. The light pollution is such that you can only see like the brightest, but that still is a sufficient amount to have this kind of beautiful relationship with. And last night, when I came home with my daughter and mother from the airport, right when we got out of the car, right, and my daughter was right next to me, um, a meteor like fell one of the longest duration of light I've seen in a while, right through Canis Major, the right through like and by Sirius, and I was just like, and there was a meteor shower these last 2 days, And I
Wow.
guess just paying attention to this cosmic realm for me is interestingly when more than the personal physical geography and ecology I've been a part of, besides what I do still in the daily ritual realm of just paying attention. Uh, yeah, I just love incorporating the stars. I'm grateful that I have clear skies often enough to see and be with these beings of that realm. It's so rad, you know? Like we're just like we're in outer space. Like we are, you know, like this planet is alive and is cruising around this star that we call sun, and then there's all these other stars that have planets and the galaxies and it's just so amazing. And so I guess just giving awareness to that without trying to even understand or make sense of it, but just being like, "Hi, I see you," has been kind of my recent ritual. And I'm reading this book just as my final plug for the third time called "Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas" by Tom Robbins. You know I was reading a different of his books just like last month, but this one, ironically, or not ironically, I guess just it just happens to be the book that focuses on Canis Major and Sirius and the Dogon tribe of Timbuktu, who thousands of years ago knew that it was a multi-star system, Sirius, like, and how they knew about these celestial relationships is like beyond most of our Western mind's comprehension. But it's believed that they were just so deeply in tune with the awareness of the energies and we'll call them communications for lack of a better explanation, but that we can be in tune and in touch with the cosmic realm in more pretty cool ways that like don't fit into our educational system or comprehension, but nevertheless I believe exist. And so I've been really like having fun with that of late.
Amazing. And it's almost like I forget to mention these beings because, um, they're not the kind of I don't go there as often as I would go to thinking about water or thinking about the earth. And but I really love that kind of invitation because also like it does resonate because a couple of days ago it was the solstice, the winter solstice, and the the sky was so clear here in
Mm,
Corra, and I have a telescope, so that's really amazing. And for the first time in my life, I was able to see Jupiter's moons. Jupiter has 3 moons, and I was able to see, well, not clearly, obviously, but I was able to see Jupiter and the 3 little dots around Jupiter. And I went to sleep thinking about how it would feel like to witness 3 different moons in the sky, because just already being able to see one is there's no words that could possibly describe my relationship to the moon and how beautiful and the reverence that I have for the moon. But imagine if we could see 3. And it's just like I was dreaming into that for literally like hours. I couldn't sleep because I saw these 3 dots that are Jupiter's moon, and it just made me feel so I don't know. I don't even know, but just it was just a feeling of being like home.
mm,
And it's like I don't know anything kind of realm, but it was delicious.
mm.
Truly was of like, oh, I'm just on this floating rock spinning around the sun, and then there's like planets that has multiple moons. What do you mean I pay taxes?
Oh, man. Yes, for real. We are so funny. That we've imagined all of these things that we do is quite something. I understand they help whatever us navigate our time on this planet, but geez, they are some ridiculous things like taxes. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad we are friends and colleagues and creating something different an alternative that we have no idea even what we're doing. You know what I mean? But we know we're doing something like rad together and again, like we are on the shoulders of Satish and Stefan and Andy Letcher and Sarah, our lead lecturers and so many different humans, of course, and the land of Dartington and the River Dart and all of the beings that we've connected with over our life's journey. And
Mm.
and I think that to me is something just to kind of conclude ish on is that like to be relational beings and for me is still an unknown explanation and exploratory journey that I realize I just wish to acknowledge I can't claim ownership or authorship of nearly anything or anything because it's always in relation to everyone and everything that I'm engaged with. Every being is informing the next words out of my mouth and the thoughts, and so it's really humbling and exciting to like navigate that with you because we like have a fun thing. And I just look forward to like, yeah, cooking up all sorts of fun, wild things with you in the future. And I would love to keep this brief because we are almost at Christmas and you're going to host some family there. And I'm so jealous but stoked for you because I'm over here in LA, which is fine and cool. But for all you listeners, Corra Woods is amazing, and we would welcome you to come visit us because it's super duper 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 magical. Malu, I am grateful for you. I have so much love for you. I don't know if you have any final thoughts or things, but I just, yeah, you're a Schumie with, a beautiful story like all of us, Schumie. So thank you for taking a little bit of time to share with me and others. And yeah, any last thoughts or suggestions or anything at all that you wanted to kind of
Well,
conclude?
well, first of all, a lot of reverence and gratitude to for our friendship and for this opportunity for the Schumacher College that led me to literally be here and play with you and the broader community. And yeah, just what came to mind when you were talking about ownership and never, yeah, that we could never have any ownership of anything because everything is constantly in relationship to everyone, human and non-human. It's just I had this, this thought of like I or we even are a mosaic of everyone and everything we've ever loved for a heartbeat, and this project is just a manifestation of this, of everything we've ever loved and that we will continue to love. And that's a true gift. And thank you for welcoming me into that project. I just have so much gratitude. Thank
Well,
you so
thank you, Malu. I think that's a beautiful ending. Thank you so much. And we'll, of course, be talking many, 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 many more times in the coming days and weeks and months ahead. But just thank you so much for sharing with me right now for this.
Fa, ba, 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 da.